Welcome back to the radio, my dear listeners. Wherever you are tonight, tucked in a quiet apartment above a sleeping city, or resting in a small room where the crickets haven't stopped since dusk, we're glad to have you. What time is it where you are? And where in the world are you listening from? Let us know below. The signal always finds surprising corners. If this kind of soft, winding story feels right to you, consider subscribing to Quilloren Radio. It helps us keep this slow little broadcast going. Tonight's story takes you back to the year 1985. You are a newspaper delivery man. The roads are still dark when you start. The paper's still warm from the press. The bag is heavier than it looks, and the town is quieter than usual. Something's shifting lately. More houses are lit by the flicker of morning television. Some porches feel colder, like they're waiting for something else. But for now, it's still just you, your route, and the ritual of delivery. Without further ado, let's begin. You load the first armful of newspapers into the canvas bag slung over your shoulder. It rests against your hip with a familiar weight, balanced but always slightly awkward. No matter how many mornings you've done this, the rest of the stack waits at your feet, bundled like bricks, still warm from the press and faintly damp from the early air. You'll return for them once this first stretch is covered. The streetlight overhead flickers once, then steadies. It always does this, a small quirk of the block that no one ever fixes, and which, at this hour, feels like it's flickering just for you. The air is cool, not cold, that gentle kind of cool that sticks to your sleeves and makes the ink on the paper smell sharper. There's no breeze yet, but the world already carries that light moisture that seeps into your gloves by the time you finish. You breathe in slowly, and your breath rises in a pale ribbon before vanishing. The town hasn't stirred yet. No birds, no traffic, no alarms. Just the hum of a power line overhead and the soft ticking of your bike's front wheel as it turns gently in place. You roll the bike forward, tires crunching slightly over grit left by a broken bottle weeks ago that no one's cleaned up. Your route begins on Gable Street. 32 homes, 3 apartment buildings, 1 church, and a dentist's office with a dog that always barks at you through the frosted glass, never missing a morning. You don't rush. Your feet know the rhythm now. You've memorized the little uneven dips in the road. The mailbox with a wasp nest behind it. The one door that always creaks open as you pass, even though you've never seen anyone come out of it. You reach the first house, a white bungalow with plastic flamingos on the lawn and 1 shutter missing. You don't know who lives there. You've never seen them. But the porch light is always off, and their driveway is always clean. You roll the newspaper tight and send it sailing with a flick of your wrist. It lands squarely on the welcome mat with a soft, satisfying thud. You nod once, then ride on. The houses blur a little at this hour. Not because they look the same, but because your body is in that in-between state. Not quite awake, not quite asleep. The houses drift by like slow-moving scenery, each one marked only by small differences. One porch has wind chimes made from spoons. Another smells faintly of fabric softener and coffee grounds. There's one mailbox shaped like a trout. You once tried to understand why, but gave up. Trout box gets the paper right in the gills every time. You make a turn down Elm, where the pavement cracks in a crosshatch pattern like it's trying to map out its own little secret routes. There's a parked truck with a sagging bumper and a handwritten for sale sign taped to the window. Same truck, same sign, every day since late March. The ink started to run. The truck hasn't moved, but someone puts a new rubber band around the sign every few weeks. It feels like a small kind of effort, almost touching in its persistence. At the edge of Elm is the bench. Not a special one, Wooden slats, rusting bolts, a plaque too faded to read. You stop there, like you do most mornings, just for a breath. You lean your bike against the lamppost and take in the emptiness of the street. The bench creaks under your weight. One of the slats is loose and always shifts slightly when you sit. You've grown fond of it. From here, you can see Maple Drive stretching out ahead. The papers way down your side. You rest your hands in your lap, palms stained faintly with ink. The smell is constant, metallic and warm, like something halfway between memory and machine. A single car passes in the distance, tires hissing lightly on the asphalt. Its headlights flash briefly across a row of hedges, then disappear. The world remains hushed, held in place by the hour. You notice a faint flicker of blue light in one window, the television already on. That's been happening more. You used to see porch lights and the glow of kitchen lamps, but now it's often the bluish wash of television screens lighting up living rooms. The early anchors with their tidy jackets and practiced smiles. You imagine them delivering the news from warm, well-lit studios while you sit out here, ink on your hands and damp in your collar. It's not a competition, but it's hard not to feel replaced in slow increments. You rise again, ease the bike forward. The next delivery is Mrs. Armitage. She always has a ceramic duck near her mailbox that wears a different hat every week. Today it's wearing a tiny sun hat with lace around the brim. She never speaks to you, but you know she leaves out candy on Halloween and fake cobwebs in October. The paper lands perfectly, and the duck's hat shifts slightly in the breeze. As you ride, your body moves automatically. You don't think about steering or the weight of the bag. It's all rhythm. You know the exact moment to brace for the pothole near Jefferson, the speed needed to glide over the narrow gravel path behind the grocery. There's a grace to the repetition, a kind of tired elegance in how it all unfolds. You cross onto Dalton Avenue. The houses here are newer, boxier. They sit back from the street like they're trying not to be involved. A few have small satellite dishes now, tiny gray bowls pointed skyward like they're listening for something you're not invited to hear. One of the houses has already canceled their paper. You still pass by, out of habit. Old roots are hard to erase from muscle memory. You stop at the corner, reach into the bag, and check the stack. Still full, still warm. The ink has smudged slightly onto your glove where it always does. The road ahead gleams faintly as the sky starts to lighten behind the houses. You shift your grip on the handlebars and take one more deep breath before coasting forward into the silence. The bike rattles softly beneath you as you roll down Dalton, your tires cutting faint lines into the damp pavement. You've done this same stretch so many times, your hands barely think about steering. They adjust naturally, nudging the handlebars left to dodge a sidewalk crack, right to avoid a sagging garbage bin that hasn't moved in a week. The streets here don't rush. They accept you in that tired, early morning way, like someone nodding without looking up. The light is still thin. Street lamps hum with their old electricity, casting halos onto puddles, and the sky above remains a dusky, purplish gray. You watch a row of curtains tremble in one home, likely from an open window. Behind them, a faint blue glow pulses. A television, probably left on from the night before. You pedal slowly past, careful not to let the bike chain click too loudly. There's no need to wake anyone. They're already forgetting the paper exists. No need to interrupt their sleep as well. The houses blur again. Each porch, each step, each oddly shaped shrub passes in a kind of comfortable haze. There's that place with the mailbox shaped like a barn, and the other with a wheelbarrow full of fake flowers. And that one on the corner where someone has painted a door bright green, though the paint stopped halfway down and never finished. You pass by the old barber's house too. He hasn't had a customer in a year, but still sets his hours on the window with neat little vinyl numbers. He gets the paper, always folded once, and tucked between the screen door and the frame. You don't know if he reads it or just likes the shape of it being there. You lean into the turn at Harrington Circle, where the road dips slightly and the sidewalks are narrow. This section of town has more apartment buildings, low, brick-faced ones with cracked stucco and concrete steps that echo when you toss the paper just right. Here, the porches are usually empty. No lawn gnomes or ceramic ducks. No bird baths or porch swings. Just rusted railings and a few plastic chairs turned over on their sides by wind or apathy. You stop by the mailbox cluster, where 5 different units share the same locked boxes, and slide the right papers into their designated slots. One box has a loose hinge. It always squeals when you open it. You don't try to fix it anymore. The squeal's part of the morning now. Back on your bike, the route leads you behind the hardware store, where a narrow service alley runs parallel to the main street. No one ever sees you here. The back of the building is all faded signs and a metal staircase leading to a second-floor apartment. There's an old ice machine, unplugged, with a crack running down one side. You always wonder why they haven't hauled it away. A small metal door labeled "Employees Only" is padlocked, as if someone might try to break in and steal shelves full of unused paint cans and slightly irregular nails. The alley smells faintly like motor oil and wet cardboard, but it's quiet. You ride slowly here, letting the tires hum against the uneven pavement. A cat darts across your path, a quick blur of fur and focus. It doesn't look back. There's always at least one cat in this alley, like they take shifts. Emerging onto Bradford, the road smooths out and you pick up a little speed. There's a moment where your legs relax and the bike does the work, coasting. The wind presses against your coat. The bag shifts slightly. Ahead, a delivery truck idles outside a small bakery, and the smell of rising dough reaches you before anything else. You've never been inside, not once, but you always slow down here, just enough to let the scent linger. Another house, another porch. A paper lands with a soft slap against the wood. A little too loud, maybe. You glance toward the window. No movement, no lights. Just the thin curtain drawn halfway, like a half-hearted secret. You move on. You turn onto Edison Lane, where the mailboxes are all mounted on matching black posts, evenly spaced. The neighborhood association here must be strict. Everyone has trimmed hedges and brick driveways. The houses all look slightly different, but clearly followed the same recipe. The porches are wide and clean. A few of the TVs are on already, muted light flickering through the glass. You throw the paper sideways and it arcs neatly across the lawn, landing against a welcome mat with bold lettering, "This is not a hotel." You don't know what prompted it, but you respect the energy. In front of one house, a garden gnome is stuck halfway into the ground, like he gave up digging. He's holding a lantern, which someone has replaced with a tiny disco ball. You've never noticed it spinning until now, just barely catching the weak morning light. It tosses flecks of brightness onto the siding. You slow your bike to watch it for a second, then pedal on. The homes here have started to show their age, paint peeling on the undersides of porches, gutters leaning away from the roof lines. One house, clearly once blue, is now an ambiguous shade between gray and forgotten. You throw its paper toward the door and miss slightly. It hits the porch post and rolls into a patch of leaves. You consider getting off the bike to fix it, but instead glance toward the window, still dark, and let it be. Not everything has to be perfect. Turning left, you ride under a canopy of trees lining a quieter street. The branches above creak faintly. Their leaves drip, not from rain, but from that persistent morning moisture that clings to everything this time of day. The tires splash through shallow puddles, and your breath hangs in front of you. The bag is still heavy, but lighter than when you started. Your muscles feel it. Not tired, but used, like they've done what they were built for. You stop by the elementary school. No one's here yet, of course. Just the low, boxy shape of the building sleeping under the last dark hour. The playground is still, swings motionless. A single basketball sits at the edge of the court, damp with dew. You lean your bike against the flagpole and walk to the teacher's entrance, where you leave a paper on the bench just outside the door. The janitor reads it every morning. You've seen him once or twice, coffee in hand, nodding silently as you passed. Back on the bike, the route begins to curve homeward. The sun is still nowhere to be seen, but the sky is softening, beginning to let go of night. You ride slowly, as if the world were still deciding whether to wake or not. You're not in a hurry. The next street is lined with hedges that hide most of the homes. You toss a paper toward a brick step and hear it thump quietly. That's enough. It landed. Another curve. Another flicker of light from a window. A porch with a plastic snowman that hasn't been taken down, its smile permanently fixed, despite the month. The smell of coffee brewing drifts from somewhere. You wonder who's up already, who's watching the news on television, learning everything you just delivered from a man on a screen instead of from your hands. Still, you keep pedaling, one house at a time, one more porch, one more thud of paper finding its place. The street curves around to Maple Drive, a long, gentle bend where the houses are older and set a little farther back from the road. The lawns here are generous but uneven, a patchwork of grass and weeds, with stone paths that lean a little from age. You always slow down when you reach this stretch, not because it's harder to ride, but because you always save one particular house for last. Number 112, yellow siding, porch swing, a cracked ceramic planter shaped like a boot with nothing ever growing in it. The house belongs to Mrs. Dupree, though you're not sure if anyone still calls her that out loud. You've never heard her first name, just Dupree, like a surname is enough when someone's been in one place long enough. She's been getting the paper from you for years, though only on Tuesdays and Saturdays. A habit she claims helps her pace the nonsense. Her mailbox is older than the house looks, an old-fashioned metal box with a rusted flip-up flag, decorated with faded radio station stickers that have peeled, and the Sunday one says KXAM, Talk Radio 870. You vaguely remember that station, shut down last summer. They played a lot of Beach Boys, and occasionally someone named Dr. Harold who gave advice that never quite applied to anyone you knew. Every time you approach her house, something small and thoughtful is waiting. Sometimes it's a thermos of coffee, sometimes a pack of those hard strawberry candies wrapped in foil that looks like fruit. One time it was a banana, wrapped in aluminum foil like it had plans to travel. You never asked why. You just took it, nodded at the closed curtains, and carried on. The offerings don't always make sense, but they're always there, and that makes them matter more. Today, it's a chipped blue mug, steaming faintly on the top step. It smells like instant coffee and something slightly burnt. You step off the bike, and the porch groans under your foot. You know which board will creak before it does. It always does, right beneath the railing. You place the newspaper neatly inside the mailbox. You don't fold it. Mrs. Dupree doesn't like folds. She once taped a note to the lid that said, "Please no folds. I'll do my own." The note is still there, yellowed now, and curled at the edges like it's trying to become part of the box itself. You sit on the top step just for a minute. The coffee is, as expected, not very good, strong in the wrong ways, thin in the others. But it's warm, and your gloves are damp from the morning dew. The cup heats your palms while the porch creaks and settles behind you like an old dog curling back into a nap. You take a slow sip and stare out at the quiet street. One curtain in the house across the way twitches, though you see no one behind it. There's a potted plant on that windowsill that seems to be made entirely of pipe cleaners. Mrs. Dupree never comes out. You've only seen her once, last fall maybe, when she waved from the door and said, "Thank you, newspaper man." She wore slippers and had a pencil stuck behind her ear. You remember being surprised by how tall she was. Something about her voice made you think she'd be shorter. It's not a compliment or a complaint, just an observation. You finished the coffee and placed the mug where it was, just slightly rotated to let her know you were here. She'll see that. She'll know it was taken and returned. That's part of the ritual now. A small, mutual agreement built from silence and repetition. You step off the porch carefully, avoiding the squeaky board just because. The bike creaks as you lift it, and the front wheel catches briefly on a crack in the walkway. You glance back once before riding on. The house doesn't move. The porch remains quiet, but the mug still steams a little, and that feels like enough. The rest of Maple Drive unfolds slowly. The houses here change shape slightly with the light. The color of their siding deepens. The shadows on the porches shift. One house has a large tree growing at a slant, leaning out over the street like it's reaching for something on the other side. A tire swing hangs from it, unmoving. The rope is frayed, but still whole. You wonder when the last time was that someone used it. It doesn't look abandoned, just paused. Further down the street is a small stone wall covered in moss, no higher than your knees. It serves no purpose anymore, separating nothing from nothing. But you always glance at it. It's one of those landmarks that marks time instead of place. It tells you how far into the route you are, how many papers are left, how many minutes until the air starts warming. The paper bag is lighter now, almost half gone. You shift it on your shoulder, then coast down the shallow slope that leads to Sycamore Avenue. Here, the homes get smaller, the yards closer together. One has a porch full of wind chimes that never seem to move, no matter how breezy the morning. Another always has laundry out, even now, at this hour, fluttering faintly in the quiet air. Someone must hang it the night before. At the corner house, there's a small wooden sign next to the mailbox that reads, "The Millers Est, 1982. You've never met the Millers, but their dog likes to bark at you from the window each morning with theatrical outrage, as if you've personally offended its ancestors. You nod to it out of habit. The paper lands squarely on the stoop. The barking stops. Peace is restored. You think again about Mrs. Dupree's porch, about the chipped mug and the faded stickers, the note about folding. That little setup has become a kind of center to your route, not the start, not the end, but the middle that holds everything else in place. You wouldn't say it out loud, but it's the one part of your morning that feels like it's waiting for you. Specifically, not for any paper boy, for you. There's something steadying in that, the quiet dependability of a routine acknowledged, not celebrated, not fussed over, just there. You ride on, the route continuing, the sky a little lighter, the bag a little lighter too. The street ahead is still asleep, but your hands remember every twist of the handlebars, every dip in the curb. Your mind drifts, but your body stays in rhythm. The porch behind you settles, and somewhere inside the mug is washed and set aside for another morning. You reach the edge of the neighborhood, where the homes give way to a narrow stretch of undeveloped land. It's not quite a field, just an open parcel the town hasn't figured out what to do with. A line of scruffy trees borders it, and someone once put a picnic table there, though it's slowly being swallowed by tall grass and weeds. The bench on one side is slanted, one leg shorter than the others. You've passed by it dozens of times, maybe hundreds. But today, You stop. The bike leans gently against a low wooden post. You sit on the higher side of the table, letting the bag slide off your shoulder and rest at your feet. There are still papers inside, but fewer now. The canvas folds in on itself, softer, deflated slightly by the morning's routine. The air has changed. There's more light now, just enough to notice the colors coming back into things. Trees are green again, houses are beige again, and the roads have gone from silver to soft gray. It's not full daylight, not yet, but the dark has definitely stepped back. You stretch your legs out in front of you, boots scuffed and damp from the grass. The silence isn't total, but it's close. Just the occasional bird, the hum of distant wires, and the creak of the bench beneath your weight. You breathe slowly. This is the part of the morning that doesn't need anything from you. No next house, no toss, no adjustment to the strap, just the pause, the stillness, the soft permission to do nothing for a while. Your hands rest on your thighs, fingers slightly curled inward. They smell faintly of paper and ink and something metallic, the scent of something handled too often to be entirely neutral. Your breath comes out warm, then fades. You close your eyes for a moment. Not to sleep, just to listen differently. The world doesn't change, but the quiet becomes thicker when you're not looking at it. You sit like that for a long while. Or maybe not long. It's hard to tell. Time flattens out in the middle of the morning, especially when there's nothing else happening. You think about the porch again, the one with a coffee mug. You think about the duck statue in a sun hat, the dog behind the window with a grudge, the disco ball gnome spinning slowly beside the mailbox. It's all absurd, but only just. The kind of absurdity that makes up most of a life if you look closely. You don't try to make sense of it. It doesn't need you to. The wind shifts slightly. Not much, just enough to lift a few strands of hair from your collar and push them back down. You pull your coat tighter. One of the trees creaks behind you. A long wooden sigh from something older than this job, this bench, maybe even this town. A car passes in the distance, not visible, just the sound of rubber on wet road, fading before it finishes arriving. There's a new ache in your shoulder, not sharp, just a dull pull from the way you carried the bag today. You roll it gently. Feel the familiar resistance, the way the joint holds its complaint and then quiets. You think about how many more times you'll do this, not in a dramatic way, just as arithmetic. How many more mornings? How many more houses? How many more chipped mugs on top steps? It's still early enough that no one else has claimed the world. The news anchors are speaking somewhere behind walls and windows, and radios are starting to flicker on, but none of it's reached the space yet. You are still outside it all, still tucked in that final hour of quiet before the world decides to wake. The bench beneath you has begun to warm slightly from your body. Your gloves are still damp, your nose cold at the tip, but the discomfort is mild, the kind that grounds you rather than pulls you away. The bag shifts slightly against your foot as the breeze nudges it. You glance down and see a corner of one newspaper bent inward, forming a small triangle. You leave it like that. You watch a small group of birds take off from a tree nearby. They scatter briefly, then settle again in another branch, as if the move was more ceremonial than necessary. One bird lingers on the lowest limb, feathers puffed against the chill. You wonder what birds think of morning routines, or if their sense of obligation is just built in, instinct, rather than decision. It sounds easier, but you're not convinced. At Island, you think about how still everything is right now. Not frozen, not paused, just still. The kind of stillness that doesn't ask anything of you. That doesn't care if you're productive, or clever, or necessary. It just lets you be there, a man with a bag full of folded paper, sitting on a slanted bench at the edge of a field that probably isn't even supposed to be here. There's a beauty to it, but you wouldn't describe it that way out loud. That feels like a word someone else would use. You'd just call it quiet. Or maybe fine, the kind of moment you don't photograph. The kind you remember because nothing happened, and that, somehow, was the best part. Eventually, you stand. Slowly. You stretch one leg, then the other. The stiffness hasn't settled yet. That comes later. For now, your joints still obey without argument. You sling the bag over your shoulder again. Lighter now. Easier. You nudge the bench with your boot. Not hard. Just enough to hear its familiar creak one last time. The bike is where you left it, leaning lazily against the post. The sky has turned a paler shade of blue. You walk the bike for a while before mounting it. No rush, no goal, just the path forward, open and quiet. If you've been enjoying the stillness so far, consider subscribing to Quilloren Radio. These stories continue every night, just like the quiet moments we build them from. Slow, soft, and steady. The road ahead is softly familiar, but the world begins to feel slightly altered. Not strange, not surreal, just gently unfastened from the usual tethers. The light now moves more fluidly across the pavement, a warmer gold that doesn't quite match the time. The trees seem taller, or maybe you're sitting lower in the saddle. The bike's front wheel makes a faint rhythm as it turns, clicking in time with something internal, not your heartbeat, but something close. You coast down a quiet stretch with no houses, just hedges, fence posts, and the occasional mailbox perched like a lookout. The path is dappled with sun filtered through leaves that shimmer even without wind. You pass a wooden sign that once advertised a garage sale. It still says Saturday, but the date has long faded, and the arrow points into nowhere, an empty lot behind a row of bushes. You feel like, if you turned in, there might still be folding tables and someone selling old glassware, waiting patiently. A narrow street forks off to your left, one you don't remember. You slow the bike, just briefly, to glance down it. No street sign, just a gravel path lined with evenly spaced lampposts that aren't lit. You don't go down it, but part of you believes you have, once, maybe. Or maybe it's just one of those places you invent in dreams and forget by morning. Still, you nod toward it, a small gesture of recognition, and continue on. A house appears that seems slightly out of place, not in its design, but in how it sits. It leans just slightly to one side, as if it settled unevenly decades ago, and no one bothered to fix it. The curtains are drawn, but not symmetrically. One droops lower than the other, held up by a clothespin. On the porch is a single chair, facing sideways. A copy of last week's paper is still on the step. You're not supposed to stop there. It's not on your list, but the porch seems to expect you. You toss today's edition anyway, and it lands with an almost theatrical poise, resting perfectly against the previous one. Back on the road, you hear a sound that you can't place. It's faint, like a slow shuffle, or the soft spin of something turning without friction. You glance back. Nothing. The road is empty, as if it's just been laid down behind you, one strip at a time. You roll your shoulders, adjust your grip on the handlebars, and keep moving forward. The light shifts again. The sun, if it is the sun, now feels lower than before, even though time has supposedly passed. It casts longer shadows, ones that seem to lean toward you, not away. They aren't ominous, just unusually curious. You pass a utility pole with an old metal placard on it that reads, Zone 3B, established 1941. You've never noticed those markers before. You wonder if they've always been there, or if this one was meant for someone else's version of the morning. You ride along a sidewalk that briefly becomes brick, uneven, red bricks with tufts of grass growing between them. The tires bump along softly, the motion vibrating into your arms. The path curves left where you expected it to go right, and for a moment, you're not entirely sure if this is still part of your route. But the houses are familiar, or familiar enough. A few of them have lawn chairs that face the wrong direction, turned toward blank walls, or the neighbor's hedges. One porch has a stack of chairs, each smaller than the last, arranged like a polite argument. There's a house with no door. Just an open entryway with a curtain pulled across, patterned with suns and lemons. A radio plays softly inside. Distant jazz, barely audible. You pause your bike, not fully stopping, and listen for a few seconds. You can't place the tune, but it feels old, the kind of music that doesn't bother you with melody. It just keeps playing because someone said it to do so years ago. As you ride on, the sound of your own motion starts to feel less mechanical. The bike moves without resistance, as if the wheels have remembered something they once forgot. The air is warmer now, not muggy, not dry, just gently insistent. It presses against you as if trying to remind you that you're here, wherever here island. A patch of road ahead is buckled slightly, forming a lazy arch that your bike coasts over like a bridge. On the other side, the mailboxes have all been painted white, but each has a different object resting on top. A teacup, a single boot, a porcelain frog, a toy car, a flat rock with a sticker that reads, "Almost." You don't question any of it, you just note it as you pass. You wonder if anyone remembers placing them there, or if the mailboxes did it themselves. Your route slips into a strange kind of comfort, one where nothing unusual has happened, but everything feels slightly altered. The same houses, same porches, same quiet repetition. But now, each one is taken on a tone, a soft blur at the edges. The neighborhood no longer feels like a set of destinations. It feels like a single, connected place, stretching outward with no end. You pass a house with a wind chime that isn't moving, but it makes sound anyway, a soft series of tones that feel closer to memory than music. You keep pedaling, one hand on the handlebar, the other brushing your coat. The road opens again. You feel no need to check your list or count how many papers are left. The work is still there, but it has stopped demanding anything from you. It simply continues. A crow flies overhead, then loops back and lands on a fence, watching you with neutral interest. It cocks its head slightly, as if unsure whether you've changed, or if it has. You give it a small nod. A moment later, it takes off again, not toward the sky, but lower, gliding between houses as if it knows a shortcut you don't. The paper bag shifts on your back, but no longer feels heavy, just present. The bike glides smoothly now, almost too smoothly, as if the street were gently sloped forever. There is no rush, no finish line. The dreamlike bend of the neighborhood accepts you, turns slowly inward, and carries you onward, deeper into a morning that never quite insists on waking. You pass beneath a canopy of trees that didn't exist a few blocks ago, or maybe they did, and you simply didn't notice. The road narrows here, and the air becomes cooler, touched by the shadow of leaves that rustle without any visible breeze. The sound they make is gentle, uneven, like someone slowly riffling the pages of a book with no intention of reading. You sit up a little straighter on the bike, not tense, just aware. The atmosphere hasn't changed sharply, only tilted the way a room feels different when the lights are dimmed by someone else. There's a shift in the temperature. The warmth from earlier has softened into something more neutral, maybe even indifferent. The kind of coolness you associate with empty libraries or the hour before the first bell rings at school. It doesn't reach inside your coat, but it brushes lightly against your neck. You adjust the collar without thinking. The road changes texture beneath your tires. Asphalt gives way to a finer, smoother surface. Not concrete, not gravel, something in between. You look down and realize it's paved with thin, flat stones, their surfaces dulled by decades of quiet weather. They shine just slightly in the new light, as if someone had gently buffed them in the night. Each tire roll is quieter now, as though the bike itself is respecting the silence of this stretch. On the right, a long brick wall appears, too long for a single property. It runs uninterrupted for the length of the block, covered in vines that cling loosely, like they haven't quite committed. The bricks are mismatched, some darker, some chipped. There are no windows, no breaks, just wall. It's the kind of structure that feels like it was put there for a reason that no longer applies. You keep riding alongside it, half expecting it to end at a gate or doorway, but it doesn't. It simply turns with the road and follows you. The houses along this stretch are farther apart now, fewer details. The curtains are closed tighter, and the porches have less personality. One has a single chair, centered exactly in the middle of a square mat. Another has a bicycle leaned neatly against the wall, its tires far too clean. A house on the left has a mailbox painted entirely gray, even the flag. No number, no name. You pass a lamppost with a clock mounted on it. The hands read 6:13. You don't know if that's accurate. It feels like the right time, but only because it isn't trying too hard. A moment later, you pass another lamppost with the same clock, same time, same angle, same quiet tick. You glance back. The first post is gone, or perhaps obscured. Either way, the road only moves forward. The bag on your shoulder shifts. The remaining papers rustle faintly, as if whispering among themselves. You haven't checked how many are left in a while. The urgency has faded. This part of the route doesn't require tracking, just presence. You deliver when you reach the house. Until then, there is only motion. The trees open up again, revealing a clearing to the left. A park, perhaps, or just an accidental space that no one ever developed. There's a bench at the center, identical to the slanted one from earlier. Same paint, same crack down the middle slat. But it's too far from the road to check. You continue on, watching, as it slides out of sight behind a hedge. Another turn. The road tilts slightly uphill now, but your legs don't resist. You're moving slowly, but the effort is smooth, unobtrusive. The incline feels less like a climb and more like a long exhale. You pedal with less force and more rhythm, letting the weight of your body do most of the work. The houses here are older, possibly unoccupied. Their windows reflect more sky than interior, and the mailboxes are sun-bleached and leaning. But every single one has a newspaper resting neatly on it already. You slow to a stop, not alarmed, just curious. You pull one of your own papers from the bag and compare it to the one already there. Same fold, same ink smudge near the corner, same crimp in the lower edge that happens when the stack leans overnight. You glance around. No other paper boys, no tire marks, no footprints. The road is as still as it was moments ago. You place your own copy next to the one already delivered. 2 papers on one box. Not wasteful, just layered. One for the version of the morning that came before, one for this one now. You mount the bike again, slowly. The pedals feel slightly stiffer now, but not unpleasant. The wind has stopped moving completely. There's a slight echo now, not of your motion, but of the space around you. A kind of acoustic softness, like walking into an empty auditorium. The bike chain clicks more clearly. The tires press more deeply into the road, though you leave no visible mark. Your breath sounds slightly louder than before, but your pace remains calm. At the corner, a traffic light hangs above an empty intersection. It isn't lit. No red, no green, no yellow. Just the black eyes of the bulbs staring gently into space. You cross without hesitation, though you briefly wonder when you last saw a car. Beyond the intersection, the trees begin again. Taller, narrower, like they've been trimmed deliberately. Their trunks form a kind of corridor, and the road narrows to match. You enter this stretch like you would a hallway. The light grows dimmer again, not from cloud, just design. This part of the route is shaded by its own agreement. You let the bike slow, then coast. The wheels hum softly, and the road feels like it wants you to take your time. There are no houses here, no porches, no signs. Just you, your bag, your bike, and the path ahead, gently turning inward again, gently leading you forward. You stay within the tree-lined corridor longer than you expect. There's no sense of distance anymore, only passage. You pedal slowly, letting the bike guide the rhythm of your thoughts. There's a sound like water in your ears, though no river is nearby. It's probably the leaves, or memory, or something quieter still. You breathe steadily and feel the road pulling the weight of years behind you, gently stretching time as if it's made of something soft. You begin to wonder about the future. Not in a dramatic way, not with fear or curiosity that demands answers. Just a casual drifting forward in thought, like a paper caught in a breeze, tumbling end over end. What will this look like 30 or 40 years from now? Will someone else be riding a bike this early, with a canvas bag slung across their shoulder, delivering words to houses that haven't changed shape? Or will this entire act, this quiet labor of touch and presence, become a memory the town doesn't need anymore? Will the bike remain the same, this clunky, familiar machine with its loose chain and dented frame? Or will someone deliver in silence, gliding on an electric platform with no weight, no breath, no pedal? Will the early morning be the same, cold and damp and full of the small sounds that make the world feel unfinished? Maybe someone will take over this route someday. A teenager earning weekend money, or a retiree who missed routine. Maybe they'll carry a screen instead of a bag, and press a button instead of folding newsprint. Or maybe nothing will need to be delivered at all. You wonder if newspapers will even survive that long. Already, televisions are doing the job in less time, with more motion and light. There's a smooth-talking man on the morning show who reads the headlines while a screen beside him flashes graphics and stock prices. His voice is always confident, even when nothing he's saying matters. You see the flicker of his face in window after window now. The families behind the glass sip coffee and nod to themselves, like they're still being told something they didn't already guess. Back at Mrs. Dupree's, will that chipped mug still rest on the step every Tuesday and Saturday? Or will the porch sit quiet, the newspaper no longer part of her ritual? If the television takes over entirely, will she find another reason to wake up early? Or will the days start without shape, unanchored from the things she once folded and tucked away for later reading? You imagine her house empty. Sometime in the future, the porch swing still moving slightly from memory. The mailbox rusted shut, no paper inside, no folded corners. No note asking not to crease the edges, just the silence of a place that once expected something and no longer does. You keep pedaling. Farther ahead, in your mind, the roads are smoother, less cracked, the sidewalks don't buckle. There are no porch steps, only sleek landing pads for delivery drones, hovering gently before buzzing off again. You try to picture it, but the image never fully forms. Every time it starts to appear, Your imagination shrinks it back down to a boy with a bag, a porch with a mug, a dog at the window who doesn't trust you. You wonder what the future dog will bark at. Will it still recognize delivery as intrusion, or will it have adapted, lying still as tiny machines buzz by the door? Will the gnomes still wear hats? Will ceramic ducks still stand watch beside half-dead planters? What about the sound? The soft crinkle of folded pages, the quiet flap of newsprint against wood. Will anyone miss that? Will anyone even know it was part of the morning? Or will all stories arrive silently now, slipping into pockets and screens without ceremony? You picture your bike, years from now, hanging in the back of a shed. Its tires deflated, chain stiff, handlebars slightly askew. A dusty relic someone stumbles upon while looking for something else. They might lift it, feel its weight, and wonder what it was for. A child might guess it was once used for errands, maybe groceries, maybe school. The purpose will blur, the specifics replaced by a shrug. You shift your grip on the handlebars. Maybe someone will find the bag too, the thick canvas worn soft by years of paper edges. Maybe they'll run their fingers over the seams and wonder why it's shaped like that. Why it has no compartments for wires, no power source, no strap for a charging pack, just a flap, just a body, just the weight of work. You imagine explaining it to someone who's never touched a newspaper. The texture, the smell, the occasional smear of ink on your fingertips. The way a heavy Sunday edition feels more like a task than a delivery. You'd tell them about the way people used to wait, actually wait, to learn what happened the day before. How they trusted paper, not to be perfect, but to arrive. You'd tell them about the mornings, not just the task, but the shape of it, the stillness, the smell of coffee in the air, and the sound of birds starting over again. The way a porch light feels like permission, the way a front step becomes familiar even when you never meet the person behind the door. Would they believe it mattered? You pause the bike near an old wooden fence. It doesn't surround anything, just stands there, half collapsed, guarding a patch of nothing. You place your foot on the ground and rest for a moment, staring into the open space beyond. Your breath comes out in a cloud. It vanishes without a trace. The fence will likely be gone one day, replaced by landscaping or storage units or a paved parking space. Maybe someone will build a new house here, one without a porch. Just a slot in the door and a camera above the frame. Delivery confirmed. Thank you. But the morning will still come. The birds will still sing. The leaves will still shift. And maybe, just maybe, someone will still ride through it, slowly, without rushing, with no screen glowing in their face, no voice chirping directions in their ear, just a body in motion. A soft bag slung over one shoulder, a task performed for its own quiet reasons. You start moving again. You think about the future mailboxes. Will they still need to open? Or will everything beam straight into someone's account, neatly filed and instantly forgotten? Will the disco ball still hang from the gnome's lantern? Or will that too vanish, dismissed as clutter from a time no longer relevant? What about the porch chairs? Will they still face sideways? Will people still sit? Will anyone still leave banana offerings wrapped in foil? Or will the gestures of quirk and habit fade as we all become more efficient and less peculiar? You reach another house, one you've passed 1,000 times. It hasn't changed, not yet, but you see it now as it might be, painted over, rebuilt, bought by someone new who doesn't want a paper. The porch swing replaced by a sleek bench that doesn't creak, a motion sensor instead of a light bulb. You don't resent the change, not exactly, but there's a quiet ache in the noticing, in knowing that what you're doing, this exact rhythm, this specific routine, might not last. that it might become a footnote in someone's archive, filed under local services or obsolete labor. And yet, here you are, still writing, still delivering, still folding and placing and pausing at the top of steps to feel the stillness that follows a job done quietly. You wonder, in that far future, if someone will dream of this work, not for nostalgia, but for comfort, for the rhythm of it, the weight of the bag, the way the road opens up when the world is asleep and you're the only one awake, carrying the morning from doorstep to doorstep like a secret no one asked for but somehow still needs. Maybe the world won't remember this version of the morning, but maybe, just maybe, someone will. You tighten your grip on the handlebars again. The trees begin to thin. The bike moves more easily. The road bends forward, and you follow it. Still here. Still riding. The road begins to slope downward, subtle at first, but enough that the bike's weight shifts forward under you. You let your legs rest. The pedals spin loosely beneath your feet as gravity takes over for a while. The soft whir of the tires against pavement is steady, a low hum that matches your breath. You don't steer much. The path is straight enough, quiet enough, and empty enough to let go just a little. The light is different again. Not brighter, not darker, just lower. The sun, if it's still there behind the clouds or trees or wherever it's gone, has changed its angle. The shadows stretch longer now with softer edges. Even the color of things seems gentler, as though the world has decided it doesn't need sharpness right now. You slow further near the end of the block, not because there's anything ahead, but because the moment feels like it wants to be longer. You pass a familiar row of homes, the same as always, but something about them feels warmer. The mailboxes, the flower beds, the way the curtains hang in the windows, they don't ask anything from you. They just let you be seen. You stop in front of a house that's always been there, always looked the same. A gray roof, a brown porch, a faded metal railing with one bar slightly bent. There's a newspaper still in your bag meant for this one. You pull it out slowly, the fold pressing into your palm with a gentle weight. You walk it up to the step instead of tossing it. No special reason, just stillness. The step creaks beneath you, and your coat brushes softly against the railing. You place the paper carefully on the mat. There's a small figurine next to the door, a plastic frog with a crown. You've seen it for years, but this morning you look at it a little longer. The paint is chipped now, one foot is missing. Still, it stands. You walk back down and lift the bike gently. The bag is nearly empty, the strap lighter on your shoulder. You don't shift it anymore. It settles naturally, like it's been with you for a long time and knows where to go. Farther down the street, the road evens out again. You glide across it quietly, the wheels whispering beneath you. There's no sound but that and your breath. You pass another porch with a wind chime. This one barely moves, but the sound it makes is deep and low, almost like a bell. One tone, then silence. You begin to feel the stillness inside yourself, not just around you, in your chest, your arms, your legs. Everything is quiet now, including you. There's no need to look at the watch, no need to check the route. The job is nearly done, but more than that. The morning has softened, slowed, thickened around you. Your thoughts dim a little. They don't vanish. They just sink lower in the mix. No questions, no comparisons, only presence. Your hands remain gently curved around the handlebars, relaxed now. No effort, no grip, just placement. You pass the park again, or a park that feels like the one you've seen before. The bench is empty. The trees sway slightly. A crow calls in the distance, but even that feels muffled, like it's keeping its voice down for your sake. At the corner, you stop for a long moment. Not because of traffic, there is none, but because something about the stillness feels complete, as if this is the last piece of it. You shift your weight slightly, just to feel the ground under one foot. The gravel presses gently into the sole of your boot. A breeze moves past you, not cold, not warm, just a reminder that you're still outside, still part of the air and space and scent of this street. It carries something faint on it, the smell of leaves, perhaps, or the last trace of someone's breakfast through a cracked window. You close your eyes, just briefly, and breathe it in. The bag rustles slightly behind you. A single newspaper remains. You don't check where it goes. You simply begin pedaling again. Slower now, letting the road carry you through this last stretch. You pass a row of houses where the fences are low and white. One has a gate that never closes all the way. Another has a row of pinwheels along the edge. One is spinning slowly, though the others remain still. You don't question the difference. Some things move, others don't. The bike drifts. You make no effort to steer or speed up. The world narrows gently. The sounds dim. Your shoulders drop. Your eyes grow heavier. Not from sleep, but from release. The way a long breath softens your body from the inside out. The route is nearly finished, but it doesn't feel like an end. More like the final note in a song that never needed to be catchy, only steady, only soft. You ride through the last few blocks as if through water. Slower, heavier, but without resistance. The wheels turn. The bike obeys. The bag sits light against your back, one soft curve of canvas and air. Your breath becomes the loudest sound. In, out, in, out. And then, the road opens just a little wider. You don't stop, not yet, but your hands ease back. The pedals slow. The descent is over. The stillness is complete. The houses grow farther apart now, and the spaces between them feel full of nothing in particular. Grass, trees, the occasional hedge trimmed months ago and left to its own rhythm. You ride through this quiet with no urgency. The paper bag sits nearly empty, resting gently against your back. Its weight more symbolic than real now. You let your body settle fully into the motion, no longer guiding or correcting, just continuing. Somewhere behind you, the world is beginning to stir. Curtains shift, coffee brews, keys jingle faintly in pockets, but none of it touches you yet. This part, this slender margin between effort and return, belongs only to you. The bike's tires roll softer now, slower. The chain is nearly silent, its hum absorbed by the road. There's a soft warmth in your legs. Not the burn of exertion, just the residual glow of something well used. Your hands remain light on the handlebars. You haven't thought about them in a while. There's nothing left to deliver but presence. You pass a house you know well, though you've never spoken to anyone inside. The porch has no chair, no decorations, no welcome mat. But the window always holds a lamp, dim, low to the sill, a soft glow even now. You don't look inside. You never do. But the light remains, as it always has, not for show, but for someone. Maybe you. Maybe not. The sidewalk has grown uneven here. Each slab tilts slightly differently, like teeth in a mouth that's given up trying to stay straight. The bike bounces gently as you ride over it, the rhythm steady but imperfect. You don't mind. You barely register the motion. Your thoughts have gone soft at the edges, sinking beneath the surface of the morning. The final paper remains, nestled in the curve of the bag. You don't reach for it. Not yet. It waits, and you let it. There's no pressure, no rush to finish. Only the long, quiet stretch of return. A bird calls once, clear and solitary, from a rooftop behind you. You don't turn to look. You know the sound. You've heard it before. A breeze rises again, gentle and low. It moves across your face like a passing thought. Brief, cool, and already fading. The sky above has taken on that peculiar hue of mid-morning, when it's neither gold, nor blue, nor gray, just light itself without preference. Shadows have become soft-edged. Everything glows, faintly. You stop the bike one final time, not in front of a house, just at a wide corner where the sidewalk disappears for a few yards, replaced by grass and gravel. There's a tree here, tall, unfamiliar, with bark like cracked stone and leaves that rustle even when the air is still. You place one foot on the ground, let the bike lean into your side, and exhale. For a moment, you listen, not to the world, but to the space between sounds, the pause, the hush, that quiet that lives inside the quiet. Your eyes drift downward. At your feet, a small piece of torn paper flutters briefly, caught on a stray weed. Not a newspaper, just something from another story, another errand, another person. You let it be. The world is full of unnoticed moments like that, floating just outside attention. The bag rustles softly. The last paper shifts with the breeze. You reach back, slowly, and remove it. No fold needed, no check for address. You hold it loosely in one hand, the way you'd hold a cup with nothing in it, not for function, just form. It doesn't feel like work anymore, just continuation. You don't deliver it, not yet. Maybe not at all. It's enough to carry it. Your thoughts drift to your first morning on this route. The nerves, the checklist, the awkward balance of a new bag and unfamiliar turns. It was darker then. You were younger, or at least newer. The houses have softened over time. The bike, too. Even the road feels like it's learned to expect you. And you, in turn, have become smaller, in the best way. Less central, less noticed, more folded into the rhythm of things, more like part of the route than something moving through it. You think of tomorrow, but only briefly. Not in preparation, just recognition. Tomorrow may come, or it may not. The job may continue, or it may not. The papers may shrink. The porches may change. The world may drift further into screens and signals. But this morning, this one, has asked nothing from you but presence. And you've answered? The light shifts again. Just slightly. A softer angle. A longer shadow from your bike across the ground. You smile, faintly. Not from joy. Not from humor. Just acknowledgement. The day is arriving whether you invite it or not. You mount the bike again, not for the destination, but the motion. You turn the wheel slightly, push off gently, and continue. The bag hangs loosely now, weightless. The paper rests in your hand. The road ahead opens in quiet welcome. There is no need to speak. There is no next thing. There is only this. The road continues beneath you, but you no longer follow it with purpose. The tires roll without instruction, the handlebars responding to the slightest lean in your body. Your breath has grown steady, not with effort, but with quiet. The last paper rests in your hand, its edges softened by the morning air. You don't check the address. You don't look for the porch. The need to deliver it has drifted away with the sunrise. It remains in your hand because you haven't placed it anywhere else. The world around you has quieted in a way that's deeper than silence. The trees are still, their leaves unmoving, not because the wind has stopped, but because the trees have decided to rest. There are no birds here, or perhaps they have folded themselves into the landscape. The grass on either side of the road is even, trimmed just enough to feel deliberate, but not enough to feel recent. This part of the neighborhood belongs to no one. Yet, it has been cared for. The sky no longer concerns itself with lighting. It has become a gentle dome of pale color, neither blue nor white, with no center and no direction. You pedal through it slowly, not beneath it, but within it. The air has cooled, though you are not cold. Your jacket breathes with you, the fabric settling along your arms with each slow movement. Your body is heavier now, not tired, just present. The weight of your legs is known to you. The slight ache in your palms where they meet the handlebars is familiar. Your shoulder, freed of the paper bag, settles into its own posture. The muscles in your back begin to soften, as if the day has asked nothing of them after all. The road shifts beneath your wheels again, though it no longer matters. There is a slight rise, then a gentle slope. Your legs respond automatically, but there is no resistance. The incline asks nothing from you. You continue forward as if drifting, though the wheels are still turning. It is not a dream. It is something smaller and quieter, a place between awareness and release. You glance to the side. A low fence runs along the edge of the road, its wood pale and worn smooth by time. Behind it is a field of tall grass, undisturbed, moving only when it chooses. There is no house nearby, no barn or mailbox or swing set, just the field, the fence, and the sound of your tires. You close your eyes for a moment, just long enough to feel the change. The breeze across your face, the fading scent of damp pavement, the way your chest rises and falls with less urgency than before. When you open them again, the road is still there, unchanged, waiting only in the way that air waits to be breathed. The paper in your hand rustles slightly, caught by the soft wind. You look down at it without really seeing the text. The ink has blurred just slightly at the corners, and there is a small crease on the front page. It feels less like an object and more like a gesture. You don't know who it belongs to anymore, and that doesn't seem important. Far ahead, a structure appears. Not a house, not a shed, just a small overhang with a bench beneath it. The bench is wood, painted long ago. The paint now cracked in thin lines like veins on a leaf. You guide the bike toward it without urgency. The wheels slow. The motion fades. You bring the bike to a stop not because the road ends, but because you feel the stillness asking to be joined. You dismount gently, placing your foot on the packed earth beside the bench. The ground is cool. Your fingers release the handlebars. You don't set the bike down. You simply let it rest against the bench, as if it, too, has earned a pause. The paper slips from your hand. It lands quietly on the seat beside you. No wind takes it. It simply settles. You sit. The bench is firm, but not hard, familiar without history. The slats beneath you creak once, then grow silent. Your hands rest on your thighs. Your back leans just slightly forward, and your shoulders no longer hold themselves in any particular shape. The air smells of soil and morning. There is no sound except for the distant hush of something turning in the background. A memory, perhaps, or just the world continuing in its own way. The last few thoughts in your mind begin to loosen, not disappear, just settle. One by one, they lower themselves like books being returned to a shelf. The names of streets, the count of deliveries, the texture of each porch. None of it is gone, but none of it needs attention. The morning has finished speaking. The sky begins to shift again, not in color, not in light, but in presence. It no longer leans forward. It draws back, leaving you with space. space. You breathe in slowly and feel it reach the bottom of your lungs. When you exhale, the air returns without urgency. Each breath now takes longer than the last, stretching gently toward stillness. You lean back into the bench. The wood gives slightly, as if recognizing the shape of your spine. Your eyes grow heavier. You don't fight it. You don't focus. Your gaze blurs slightly. The line between near and far dissolves. The paper remains beside you. The bike rests quietly, its frame no longer needed. The grass sways once, then stills. The bench holds you like something carved into the world, not placed. All sound has softened. The leaves no longer whisper. The air no longer hums. The earth no longer shifts. Only your breath moves, and even that has slowed into something quieter than motion. Your legs relax completely. Your arms go slack at your sides. Your hands no longer seek balance. The road is behind you now, folded into the space between seconds. You feel your weight deepen. Your presence lowers itself into the bench. There is no more to do, no more to reach. Warmth settles over you. A final layer, thin but complete. The kind that gathers not from heat, but from stillness itself. You remain like that for a long while. Not thinking, not sleeping, just held by wood, by air, by the small rhythm of breath. Everything has slowed. Everything has softened. Everything has come to rest. There is only this: breath, warmth, stillness, and a sleep that asks for nothing now that all has been done.